My first school in China had a real used car salesman of a manager, slicked back hair and all. We lost teacher after teacher upon completion of their one-year contracts. Some didn't even get that far, and so our school historically had one of the lowest employee retention rates. When I began running my own school, I made employee retention one of my focused key performance indicators and took our school from one of the worst in the region to number one in that metric, using this simple trick that your first grade teacher probably also used. Welcome to Teach Anyone Anything, where we do just that. I share my success with using tried and true teaching methods I learned in my background as an international educator to better manage our team and our business. Do you think Pavlov thought about feeding his dogs whenever he heard a bell ring?
Has to take the cake for drool. Look at these drools that walk.
In this video, I'll talk about how I used rewards in the workplace and how that positive reinforcement built a stronger team that worked harder and stayed with us longer. One of my first managers in the world of teaching would only give negative feedback under the guise of constructive criticism. I was told so often to not do something that I ended up with a whole list of things I shouldn't do and no real advice of what I should be doing. He would create laminated signs in the office with cute little reminders on them like, "You forgot to do your attendance, go back and do it." Whether you marked attendance or not was of no consequence to him. You were wrong either way. When I worked under this guy, I can't tell you how many times I would forget to mark attendance despite all the ridiculous signs, how many of my progress reports would go unfiled, how many of my lesson plans would go unwritten. Now I can look back as a manager and it's obvious. He created a company culture of negligent compliance where the only reason to keep up with these tasks was to avoid the public humiliation of being called out in a group chat. "Everyone, Johnny forgot to do his attendance. Can someone remind him?" Nothing we ever did under his guidance was good or desirable or wanted. The best you could hope for was not awful. Comment below. I want everyone watching to read about other examples of the pettiest things a manager of yours would do in the workplace. Was it effective? Or perhaps you had a manager who did away with the pettiness. How did they do it? I compared this attitude to a manager when I was a line cook who would say, "You're doing a great job," in the midst of a rush when you're 10 orders behind and completely in the weeds, keeping an eye on 10 separate skill sets at once.
Hands, please!
Now, the brilliance of this statement is either you're working hard and your manager recognizes that you're working hard and inspires you to continue on, or you're not working as hard as you could be, so you feel a little guilty that he thinks you're working as hard as everyone else, which inspires you to work harder. Needless to say, I found positive reinforcement to be just as, if not more important, than constructive criticism, to highlight what it was that I needed to be doing to become proficient at my job and grow into the next role. I had a class that was quiet, so I would praise the loudest students. This soon became my loudest class. I had a class that was slow, not in terms of intelligence, but in how fast they completed their work, so I would praise the quickest students. Soon I was planning double the activities because they began completing their work so quickly. When I started having less classes to manage and more schools, I applied these same positive reinforcement techniques. One of my schools had a company culture of partying, traveling, showing up late, and so they would consistently give the laziest, most boring and uninspired bare minimum work. Did I call them out or publicly humiliate them? Absolutely not. I rewarded any work that showed any semblance of high quality or effort. 5 ways I would reward my team were: I sectioned off a minute or two of the weekly meeting to publicly praise a teacher who had done something above and beyond that week. In the weekly meeting, I would give each teacher a thank you card, but not me thanking the teachers. These were so the teachers could thank one another. In doing so, I was building a culture of gratitude. If I noticed a teacher was doing something particularly well that another teacher was struggling with, I would ask those who were proficient to coach those who struggled. I began noticing teachers observing one another's lessons without my suggestion. I was transparent about the actions, plans, and projects of our school to invite collaboration. Those who stepped up were trained to become my junior managers, which took some of the burden off me so I could consistently give my highest quality performance for my team. And finally, I would take the team out for coffees, lunches, dinners, after-work drinks, sometimes even team-building events, which I know, no one likes team-building events, but I made sure that everyone was on board before forcing anyone to do anything, and a cookout on a lake, who can complain? One summer we were short-staffed and overworked. Every teacher was pulling 10-hour days, so I bought a refrigerator for the office and made sure it was stocked with coffees, energy drinks, protein bars, anything to make sure they knew their hard work was appreciated. I don't recommend going broke just to show your gratitude, but a thoughtful gift sure can make someone feel seen. And sure enough, our quarterly progress reports showed significant growth in key areas, which in turn gave our school more funding and more team outings. My team was literally doing so well that we were paid to have fun. What are some ways that you praise or are praised at work? Does it feel genuine or forced? What steps can you take to help create the culture you want? If you found anything in this video helpful, or if you learned something, or if you would like to see a deeper dive into anything, let us know in the comments. Please subscribe so you'll know when we release another video. Our next video will focus more on how I found what motivates my individual team members so I could better reward them. And our last video was about setting positive expectations with my team to see positive results. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next one.